Since the game has went global, the game of basketball, the NBA, belongs to the international players.
The last 5 MVPs have been won by international players.
I don't want to say that they're dominating, but they have the confidence.
The best players are not born in the United States.
Nikola Jokic's greatness has bred resentment towards international players in the NBA. Now, over the history of the NBA, American-born players have always dominated. They've been bigger, stronger, faster, more athletic, and you can even see through Team USA basketball that the American players have always been the standard of greatness in basketball. But over the last decade, that's kind of started to change. You could argue, depending on positioning, that the top 5 players in the NBA are international players. You got Jokic, Luka, Giannis, Embiid. Maybe you might want to throw Ant-Man or Jason Tatum in there, but then Shea's right there. And let's not forget, Wemby is slowly on the rise. So when it comes to this dynamic of American-born players are just so much better than international players, the gap over the years of that has shrunk dramatically. The last 3 MVP winners have all been international, with a couple of them, Giannis and Jokic, winning the award a couple times. The last time an American-born player won MVP was in 2018. This is pre-COVID, 2018, when James Harden won the MVP. We've seen a trend when it comes to international players now that we have never seen in NBA history, where former players, current players, NBA analysts are telling players to their face that they didn't deserve certain awards, that they aren't held to the same standard as NBA players, and they're given a pass when it comes to succeeding.
Joker, I want you to hear from me first. I thought the SGA should have been the MVP. That's no disrespect to you.
Stop it. Get some help.
Nick Wright, in fact, said that Jokic was the worst MVP in the last 35 years.
When you look at the list of league MVPs over history, I say this with respect to Jokic. Historically speaking, he would be the worst one we've had in 35 years.
Bitch, are you dumb?
Pardon me?
Are you dumb?
I think she's dumb. I think she's dumb.
Saying that Nikola Jokic isn't better than Derrick Rose is it's laughable. It's honestly laughable. Last year, Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors came out on his podcast and said that international players aren't held to the same standard as American-born players when it comes to succeeding in the playoffs and winning a championship. And it's crazy because I could make the argument that the exact opposite of that is true. Since that time, Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets have indeed won an NBA championship. Giannis has already won an NBA championship. And Luka has been at only the age of 25 has already been to a Western Conference Finals. This is more successful than some players like Damian Lillard, for example, who has never won a conference final game in his career, but is already in the top 75 players of all time. Russell Westbrook, for example, who is one of my all-time favorite players, but as a leading #1 guy on a team, has never been out of the first round. James Harden, who has never won an NBA championship or whatever, and is already in his mid-30s. These are players in the top 75 all-time in NBA history, some of the greatest players to ever play the game, ranked by other former players and analysts who have not been anywhere near successful as some of these up-and-coming international guys have already been at their age. I personally feel that if you're a fan of basketball, you should be a fan of great basketball no matter who's playing it or where the person that's playing it is from. But clearly, a lot of former and current players do not feel that way. So these are my top 3 reasons why I feel that international players are receiving so much hate in the NBA media. Number 1 is play style. Now, there's this narrative that goes around that European players are soft and that the NBA may have made rules to ingratiate itself towards European players so that they're more able to play in the league.
What changes can the league make to bring more competitive balance to both sides of the ball?
Get rid of all the Europeans. They don't go to college whatsoever. They have no athleticism.
They have
no athleticism.
They all come over and go to
They have no athleticism, right? They have no speed, no jumping ability. They are a liability on defense. The NBA took away aggression. They took away aggression to open up the Euro League. More threes, passing, cutting. This is not our league. This is not the American style. This is the Euro style. Drive in, suck the defense in, pass the ball to the three-point line. It's a three-point shooting league because they're copying Euro style.
One, in my personal opinion, the reason the league shoots so many threes is Steph Curry in 2016 broke the NBA with his unreal shooting ability, and every team around the NBA realized if we want to compete long term, we have to fill teams with shooters. We have to get more threes because that Warriors dynasty was so successful on the backs of Curry, Klay Thompson, even for a little while Kevin Durant, and their three-point shooting ability. I don't think that had anything to do with attracting European players. I think European players just saw that as an avenue to adapt their game to fit more in the NBA style. I think it was more a byproduct of the change in the NBA. I don't think the NBA changed its ways to fit for international players. I think Steph Curry did that personally. The other thing as it refers to play style is over the course of NBA history, we're so used to seeing the super athletic player dominate the league. The high flyers, the people that run faster, jump higher, just are more agile and can do things that as you're sitting at home, you couldn't even fathom doing on the basketball court. With a lot of international players, it's not like that. If you look at someone like Jokic, even though he's 7 foot, you look at someone like Luka, even though they're tall, you have to be tall to be in the NBA. They're not super athletic. They're not super quick. They're not super agile. They don't do anything on the basketball court that the mainstream person sitting at home feels like they are not capable of doing. They feel like they're capable of shooting a step back three or making a nice no-look pass or things that these players have maximized their ability to do. The regular person can more relate to that skill set because not everyone can windmill and dunk the way LeBron, Kobe, Jordan, Anthony Edwards, the way some of these guys can do. But a lot of people feel like they can shoot the ball well. A lot of people feel like they can dribble and get to their spots and shoot a nice little floater. Things that European players have mastered, I feel like are more normalized to mainstream fans, and it takes away some of that wow factor that I feel like the NBA likes to capitalize on. The NBA finds that it's more profitable to sell jerseys and tickets when you see someone like Russell Westbrook flying through the air, someone like Anthony Edwards flying high above the rim, dunking on people. Jokic isn't going to dunk on people. Shea isn't going to dunk on people. You know what I mean? Bogdanovich, Sabonis isn't gonna be flying above the rim, but it doesn't make them any less effective on the basketball court. I think NBA analysts and players are so used to that superhuman-like athleticism being one of the key indicators to how good a player is, and European players don't really fall into that category. So I think there is some resentment that is bred that they are able to still be so dominant and effective on the court without having that inherent athletic ability that it has seemed for so many years that you need to have to be a great NBA player. Number two, I feel like it's personality. Now, we're so used to seeing the charismatic, charming, big smile, laughable, lovable, household name NBA player as the best player in the league. If you want to look at LeBron, Curry, Kyrie Irving, Russell Westbrook. If you want to look at some of the young up-and-comers, you got Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton. If you want to go back a little bit, you got Dwight Howard, Kobe, Shaq, Melo, Allen Iverson, MJ, Magic Johnson. These American-born players with these big personalities are more able to be marketed by the NBA. They're able to sell this person not just as a player, but also as a person. They're able to get better endorsements. They're just able to appeal more to a wider audience just based off of their charisma and charm. A lot of international players are more reserved, maybe because English isn't their first language, but whatever you may look at it, they're more reserved. They're not very flashy. They're not very talk about me. They're not very outgoing in the way that traditional basketball media is used to. And I feel like that's harder for NBA analysts and NBA players to wrap their arms around and embrace as being faces of the league because it makes it harder to market.
Like I said before the game, we just can't fuck around and we just, oh shit. Love it.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
The third and maybe biggest reason why I feel like European players are being perceived negatively in NBA media is because they have the appearance of receiving preferential treatment. Now, one of the biggest points of contention in the NBA lately is the criteria of winning the NBA MVP award. It seems as though that the best player, Nikola Jokic, is winning the award over and over again. And even if you look a few years earlier to Giannis, who seemed to be the best player, he was consistently winning it as well. Now, over the history of the NBA, we've seen players, the Jordans, the LeBrons, the Kobes, the Shaqs, be the best player in the NBA for stretches at a time, but did not consistently win the award year after year after year, as it appears that though Jokic is doing. And I think that that breeds some resentment towards people, that their same criteria for winning the award isn't applied to these European players. On top of that, over the years, the players that make it to the NBA, the top draft picks, we've seen them from youth through AAU leagues, through basketball tournaments in high school and college. We've seen them year after year develop their skills, and by the time they reach the NBA level, we are almost very familiar with their game because we've seen them grow over the course of the years. This doesn't apply to international players. A lot of the time, they come over and we hear about them right as the NBA draft approaching. These players usually didn't go to college. We didn't see them participate in any AAU camps. They were able to play professional overseas at a young age in 15, 16, where American-born players are forced to play throughout high school and at least 1 year of post-high school basketball career. It seems as though when they get over to the NBA draft, they're held in a higher regard than American-born players who, and it feels as though maybe they are getting a pass of having to go through the same rigor that we view American players having to go through. Now, obviously, if you want to go 50 deep, 100 deep, American-born players are still dominating the NBA, as the NBA has been in America and originated here. But if you're looking at the top players, the best players in the world, almost all of them are international. And yes, I'm including Jamal Murray and Shea as international. They're from Canada. So I personally would love to see an international versus American all-star game, the best 12 international players and the 12 best American-born players, and let them play in the all-star game. I think it would be way more competitive and a much more close game than what we saw recently in the all-star game with teams giving up 200 points. But y'all let me know what you think. Do you think that European players aren't really that good and they're just kind of shining right now? Do you think that they're soon going to take over the NBA entirely? Or do you think that the American-born players are still by far dominating the NBA and will continue to dominate the NBA in the foreseeable future? Thanks for rocking out with your boy. This is Zoe. This is The Last Word, and I'm out, man.